All right, the parenthesis normally tells us we must first work with the numbers that are in brackets. All right, so now we are going to say 3 plus 6, it is equal to 9. 9 plus 2, it is equal to 11. Do you notice that we get the same answer on both sides? On our left-hand side and on our right-hand side, the answer is 11, and we did not change the sum, right? We just moved the numbers around. In fact, we grouped the numbers, okay? So this is called associative property because the numbers are added in groups. Let us move to our third term so that we can be able to do our morning exercises, but we first need to understand what are these terms. Okay, I've already explained everything that is on this slide. This is just a different sum. All right, our next one is going to be identity property. And my screen is just freezing here, but I do want you to follow. Okay, here it is now. Our next one is identity property of addition. Now it says here, the sum of 0 in any number is that number. What do we mean by that? What do we mean when we say the sum of 0 in any number is that number? Okay. No, I'm not asking you guys at the moment. I'm just explaining. I'll have the questions just right after this slide. I just want to explain to you first, and then I'll be able to, or rather, let me take the answers. Let me take the answers to those who want to give us a try. Okay, Tsepang, I see you have your hands up first. You had your hand up first, so you can give us the answer.
Yes, ma'am. And 0, like, I think it means the answer will always be 0, ma'am.
Okay, so Tsepang says he thinks that the answer will always be 0. Remember, Tsepang, we are dealing with addition, not multiplication. We're still dealing with addition and not multiplication. Who also wants to try? Is there anyone else who has their hand up before we get into our exercise? Okay, let's have someone else. I see there's 2 hands.
Zandile?
Yes, Zandile.
I think that it means if you have another number like 4 and there's a 0, it means that 0 turns into 4.
It means that 0 will
turn into the other number.
Will turn into the other number. All right, we don't use the term it will turn into the other number, but it basically means that the number will remain that number that is added unto the 0. So basically, yes, it will be a 4. Thank you so much, Zandile, for your answer. Your answer was brilliant. It basically means that 0 plus 4, the number will just remain as is because 0 means nothing. There's nothing that has been added. Let's say, for an example, I have 5 apples, and on those 5 apples, I add nothing. So I will still remain with my 5 apples. All right. So we're going to go straight into an exercise because it's addition. And I know our minds are fresh. It's early in the morning. I'm sure some of us have just had their breakfast and our minds are ready to shoot. So the first exercise for the day that we're going to do, it says use the associative property for the following sums. So we're going to have one person answer 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So one person for each sum that we see on the screen. So the first one, it says 8 plus 5 plus 16. All right, we're told to use the associative property for the following sums. So I want to see if we are now able to distinguish between the commutative property and associative property. So let us do number 1. Can I have someone that's going to be able to tell us how are we going to calculate number 1? Lucky Masfondo, your hand was up first.
Lucky doesn't have a mic, so I can't unmute him.
Oh, okay. We'll take anyone then, because I'm not able to see all 3 at the same time.
Lucky, I see your hand is raised again. Please make sure that your audio is allowed on your side, as you don't have a mic available, so I can't unmute you. So if you have a question, just respond in the chat box to me and then I can assist you there. Zandile, I'm unmuting you.
This is how we're gonna do it. You're gonna group the 2 in brackets, and then you add the plus in the other number which is not in brackets. And then on the other side, you're gonna group this number, the first number, and remove the second number and put the third number, and do the same thing you did in the first one, adding plus to the number which doesn't have brackets, and then you give the answer. The answer must be the same.
Thank you so much, Zandile. Now, can you use these numbers that we have on the screen?
Okay. You're gonna say you're gonna bracket 8 plus 5, and then you close the brackets plus 16, and then you give the answer. And then on the other space, you're gonna say 8, remove the 5 plus 16 brackets plus 5. Then you give the answer. The answer must be the same.
Okay, so you're saying on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, we are going to have 8 plus 5 on both brackets.
No. You're gonna 8 the first time you're gonna have 8 plus 5 close brackets, and then you're
Okay.
gonna say 16. Then you give the answer. Then you're gonna do another sum under or on the side, whichever side. You're gonna say you're gonna open brackets 8 plus 16, close brackets, and then plus 5.
All right, then thank you so much, Zandile. And what is going to be the answer? Because we are calculating, so I need the answers. So when you're adding 8 plus 5 in the brackets plus 16, what is your answer? And also when you're adding on your left-hand side 8 plus 16 and in your brackets and then outside plus 16, what is the answer that you get?
29.
You're getting 29.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Zandile, for that. That is the correct answer. 29 is the correct answer. Can we have someone else that is going to do number 2 for us? Thank you, Zandile.
He now has a mic, so I have unmuted Lucky.
Oh, okay, thank you. Lucky? Can we have number 2, Lucky? All right, I can't seem to hear Lucky.
Let's see if someone else wants to answer. There's no other
Is there
raised
anyone
hands at the
else
moment.
who wants to answer number 2 for us?
There we go.
Oh man,
Yes.
you bracket 398 with plus 189. Then you bracket that. Then after you do that sum, then I'm gonna tell you the answer now, man. Then
Okay.
you do 2,346, man. So the answer for 398 in brackets with 189 is wait. Okay, man, can you please come back to me, man?
Not a problem. You can always use a calculator. If you do have your calculator in front of you, you can always use it. Can we have someone else? Because Tepang is going to quickly get some tools for his calculations.
There's a few answers in the chat box.
Okay, let me check. I always have a problem with the chat box. Whenever I click it, it doesn't want to open on my side.
It's for you. So Magda said 2,822, or Wethe said 2,822. Dimba said 2,822. Then we had someone say
They
3,232.
they just giving the answer. I wanted them to actually tell me how it's going to be done, like Zandile did on the first one.
Okay, well, here's Tsepang back. Let me just unmute him.
Tepang,
Let's
are
see if
you
he can
back?
answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can give us the answer then.
Yes, ma'am. You bracket 308, 398
Yes.
plus 189, ma'am. That equals to 587, ma'am. Then you plus it by 2,345, ma'am.
Yes.
And that it will give you the answer of um give you the answer of
Do you
8.
have your calculator with you, Tepang?
Yes, ma'am. Is that okay, ma'am?
What is the total answer?
Is the answer two 2,926? No, I think I'm wrong.
No, actually, it is not 200. Sorry, it's not 26.
Oh, it's
Okay,
not 26.
the last number,
It's
it's not 26.
2,936, ma'am.
Okay, it's still not 36. But let me check on the chat box. Mel, can you help me? What was the answers on the chat box? Mel, can you hear me?
Different one. Some of them has actually done the sum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So some of the answers was it started off with 2,822, and
Yes.
then 2,932, and yeah, there was one that got 3,232, one that got 2,000.
Okay. The correct one is the 2,932. That is the
Oh,
correct answer.
sorry, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tepang. I'm sure there's a little mistake that you made there. Please
Yes.
double check your numbers when you pressing. You must always make sure that you're pressing the right numbers on your calculator. Then can we have someone else that is going to do number 3 for us? We have 6,987 plus 278 plus 9. Do we have someone else?
Yes, Andile, go ahead.
Okay. So it's gonna be you're gonna bracket the 6,987 with the
Yes,
278, then close brackets, and then you're gonna say plus 9. Then you're gonna say equals. Then
yes,
on the other side, before you give the answer for the first one, you're gonna do the other sum. It's gonna be it's gonna be two it's gonna be 278 plus 9, close brackets, then plus 6,987. The answer will be, can I just do it on my calculator quickly?
yes. Because what we need to check as well, whilst you're still calculating, what we need to make sure is that the answers are the same. So that is why we need the answer. So you must
Okay.
mention the steps so that we are able to make sure that we are only changing the positions of the numbers. We are only moving the numbers around. and then we are getting the same answer. Actually, we're not moving the numbers around on associative, we're grouping the numbers correctly, and we are getting the same answer. That's what we need to understand on this one. We must get the same answer on both the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. Are you ready with your answer, Zandile?
Yes, ma'am. The answer will be 7,274.
That is the correct answer. I hope everyone on the chat box who is writing there, but I'm unable to see, has that very same answer, 7,274. That's the correct one. Okay, we're basically doing the same thing for all these steps, but let's continue and let's have someone else. Zandile has already answered and Sepang has answered. Can we have someone else that is going to do number 4? Anyone who hasn't answered yet? Can we have someone who has not answered yet to give us the answer? Okay, I see Magda also had it right there. Now I'm able to see the chat box. I see Magda also had it right, the number 3. But now can we have number 4? I'm able to see, yes, Lerato, you have your hand raised up. Lerato? We're busy with number 4.
I can't hear Lerato. I don't know why.
I also can't hear Lerato. Okay, Lerato, we seem to be having a problem with your audio. We can't hear you on our side. All right, so let me do it. I don't think there's anyone else who has their hand up. Okay, we're going to add 5 plus 8 and group them in parentheses, and then we'll say plus 23. And then we also do the same thing on the right-hand side, but now we're going to move the brackets to 8 and 23. We're going to group 8 and 23. Thank you, Tepang. Tepang did it on the chat box. And then the answer is, the correct answer, Tepang, will be 36. I see Olwetu also has completed it. Olwetu did it on the chat box. We have 36. That's the correct answer. All right, and then can we do number 5? All right, I have Korombi. No, it's actually Ihsan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Do we have someone who has their hand up?
Is it Ashley?
Ashley, yes, you can go ahead.
Well, the sum is 15 plus 3, so we'll bracket those two and then we'll say plus 129. Then we'll put an equal sign and then we'll say 50. Then we'll say 3 plus 12 bracketed plus 15, which will give me the answer. Sorry, give me quickly.
Not a problem. You have the steps, right? You do have the steps, right? You're grouping.
The
On
answer
the
will,
left hand side.
the answer will be 130.
The answer will be 130. Thank you so much for that. I also see that people are getting the right answers on the chat box. Thank you so much for your answer. It is correct. Okay, now we're going to move to our next exercise. So our next exercise says we need now to identify. We must identify the correct equation. All right, it says here, which equation shows the commutative property of addition? Which equation shows the commutative property of addition? Is it A, is it B, or is it C? I see Tepang has their hand up, but do we have someone else so that we don't have the same person or the same group of individuals answering? Is there anyone else who'd like to give us an answer?
Ma'am, it's B.
What's your answer, Olotu? Sorry.
And the answer, ma'am, is B.
The answer is B. That's correct. We have the same numbers on both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. It is just the numbers have been moved around. Thank you so much. Yes, everyone also says B on our chat box. All right. Now let's move to the next one. Which equation shows associative property of addition? We have done the first one, commutative with B. Now, which equation shows associative property of addition? Okay, we have different answers for this one. Some are saying A, some B, and one is saying C.
Then let me answer. Ma'am, I think it's D, ma'am.
Why do you think it's B?
Ma'am, because 9 plus 7 in brackets plus 2, ma'am, equals to 9 plus 7 plus 2 in brackets, not with the 9, ma'am. So, ma'am, I think it's
I understand.
D, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, B is the correct answer. I see people are confused. I did that on purpose by just putting the 30 on C in brackets and using the same numbers. It is just to check if people are focusing on the grouping of the numbers. You can't just separate one number and put them in brackets in the in the associative property of addition, because we are adding. So if you just put the one number in brackets, that then is not going to allow you to add anything to it whilst it is on the bracket. But if you add the second number, then you are able to add and then add the third number. So B is the correct answer for those who said C and A. And thank you to everyone who participating on the chat box. All right, now the last one, which equation shows the identity property of addition? Which equation shows the identity property of addition? Okay, I see a lot of people on the chat box. Noloaze Khosilaki, Owetu, Tepang, Leraton, Tando, Tisne. If actually everyone is saying C, we do agree. It is C, it is 45 plus 0 is equal to 45, because we had said that anything that is added, any number that is added to a 0 remains that very same number. It remains itself. Okay, now we're moving to our second group of work, because we said at the end of this lesson, we must be able to know the properties of addition and also the properties of multiplication. So now we are looking at commutative property of multiplication. Here we are changing the order of factors, but the product is not going to change. Okay? In multiplication, it's the same thing, but the term now are different. We are changing the factors, but the product does not change. Okay, for an example, I have 4 multiplied by 3. It is equal to 3 multiplied by 4. Okay, we're moving on to our next one. Associative property of multiplication. Also, changing the grouping of factors does not change the product. We have an example here. It is 2 multiplied by 3 in brackets and outside multiplied by 4. it is equal to 2 multiplied by the number that is in brackets, which is 3 multiplied by 4. Okay, what we must always remember with associative property is we first deal with the numbers that are in the brackets, and then we will multiply the product by the number that is next to the product so that we are able to get our answer. Okay. And also with the identity property of multiplication, now there's a slight change with the identity of property of multiplication. Identity property of multiplication, any number that is multiplied by 1, any number that is multiplied by 1 remains that number. Remember with addition, we said any number that is added to 0 remains the number. However, with multiplication, it is a different case. For an example here, we have 77 multiplied by 1 is equal to 77. So if we were to say 77 multiplied by 0, what would be the answer? What would be the answer if we were to say 77 multiplied by 0? I just want to quickly check the chat box. Yes, that's correct. Everyone is saying 0. It is 0 because anything multiplied by 0, when it comes to multiplication, anything multiplied by 0, the answer will always be 0. So I don't want us to confuse the two, the identity property and multiplying by 0, because the identity property of multiplication is 1 so that the number remains itself. Okay. Now I also have another exercise that we are going to quickly do. Okay, now I want okay, can I have one that is going to answer? It says use the commutative property of multiplication for these factors. We'll do it as we did with the multiplication, where you tell us which numbers you are grouping or which numbers you are moving around or what number is added to 0. And then you give us the answer. Can I have someone that is going to answer? Number 1.
Tabitha?
Yes.
We have 1 or 2 students that is asking for you to just re-explain multiplication as they don't understand. So
Okay.
maybe just a quick example, because we only have about 15 minutes left and we still have a few exercises. So just maybe a quick explanation.
Okay, so they want me to go back to the multiplication. Okay.
Yes.
Of multiplication. All right. It means that the factors, remember when you deal with multiplication, you have factors. The factors here is 4 multiplied by 4 by 3. So we are saying 4 and 3 are factors, and 12, which is the answer when you multiply 4 by 3, is the product. So what we mean is that the answer should not change, even though we are going to first say on our right hand side 3 multiplied by 4. Okay, now let me move to the second one. Now we move to associative property of multiplication. It means the same thing that we were doing in our addition, but now we are multiplying. Okay, we're still grouping the numbers. We have 3 digits, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4. Those are our numbers. But now we are first going to group 2 multiplied by 3, and then outside of our brackets we'll have multiplied by 4. And on our right hand side we'll have still the same digits, 2, 3, and 4. But first now we're grouping 3 multiplied by 4, and outside our bracket we have 2 multiply the number that is in the bracket. The answer must be the same both on the left hand side and on the right hand side. It's the same as the addition. However, now the answer will come from multiplication because we are not adding. So I said earlier on that whenever we have brackets, we first work out the answer in the brackets, we first deal with the brackets, and then we come and use the number that is on the outside, whether it's addition or multiplication or division or subtraction. We first work out the brackets and then come with the number outside and deal with it. Say for example, we have here 3 multiplied by 4 in the bracket on our right hand side. The answer there is 12, and then we come and say, okay, we have 2 times, then we'll drop that 2 on our second line, we'll say 2 times 12. The answer is 24. So on both our left hand side, on our right hand side, the answer must be 24. Okay, now the last one, identity property of multiplication. We are saying here, unlike in addition, where we said anything, and sorry, any number that is added to 0 will remain that number. Here, our identity property is 1. When we're saying 77 multiplied by 1, it must be the same answer or same number, which is 77. Okay, because we are not adding the 1, we are multiplying by 1. So the rule in multiplication, anything that is multiplied by 1, sorry, any number that is multiplied by 1, the number will remain itself. It will not change. It is going to be the same number. I hope everyone is now on the same page with the multiplication. Can I then have someone that is going to answer the first one, where we saying use the commutative property of multiplication for these factors? Do we have anyone that wants to try the first number? I know we have 4 numbers there, and I did that on purpose. I want us to try when we have 4 digits. How are we going to do the commutative multiplication? It's commutative it's commutative property of multiplication. And we must remember, it's not the associative property, it's commutative property. So we're still able to work around, even though it's 4 digits. I have 2 hands that are raised. Who is going to answer from those 2 people who raised their hands?
Ma'am.
Yes, you can speak.
Ma'am, I was
Yes.
saying, ma'am, is it 1 times 2, and then ma'am in brackets, ma'am, then then we have the times, then ma'am, we have brackets 3 times 4, then ma'am, down till you get from 1 times 2, ma'am, you'll times it by that, you get by 3 times 4.
All right, let's get someone else. I'll tell you just now. Okay, we must always look at the term that we're using. Remember, we're using commutative property. Okay, can we have Pabalo to answer number 1? Or is it Pabalo?
The answer is 24, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I think I have given you guys a challenge by giving you 4 digits. Because we are running out of time, let me assist you with the first one, then we can continue with the rest of the exercise. Okay, when we have 4 digits, it is still the same rule that applies. We are just going to move the numbers around. Remember, it's commutative property, it's not associative property, so we are not grouping the numbers. We are not grouping the numbers, we are just going to move them around. Remember, we said with commutative, we just move the numbers around, but the answer must remain the same. Okay, so we have 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4 on our left hand side, and we have our equal sign. On our right hand side, we'll have 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. Okay, we just move the numbers, we move the numbers around, but the answer must remain the same. Okay, we have factors 1, 2, 3, and 4 on our left hand side, and on the right hand side we'll start with 4, 3, 2, and then 1. However, the answer is the same. And as Tepang has said, the answer is 24. He's correct. The answer is 24. However, we move the numbers with commutative property. We are not grouping. That's what we must remember. Okay. And then the second one says 12 multiplied by 14. I think I'll just take the answers. Yes, Ashley? I see, Ashley, you have your hand up.
Well, we see that 12 times 14 will equal 14 times 12, which will equal our answer. And our answer is 40. Our answer is 168.
That's correct. The answer is 168. Thank you so much. Can we have someone else that's going to do number 3? We only have 4 minutes left. However, the last one is just one. It's just a one answer question. Can we have someone that is going to do number 3 for us? Yes, Ashley. Yes, you can answer.
Ma'am, it is 72. The answer, ma'am, in 9
Yes, the
times
answer
8.
is 72. We have 9 multiplied by 8. And also on our right hand side will be 8 multiplied by 9. The answer is 72. Okay, the last one. Who wants to do the last one? 16 multiplied by 7. You can just give the answers. Do we have any answers on the chat box? 16 multiplied by 7. Okay, I have
We have a few.
their hands raised up.
112.
Yes, 112 is the correct answer. All right, now the last question for today. Which of these is an example of associative property of multiplication? Which of these is an example of associative property of multiplication? Yes, Zandile?
The example of associative property of multiplication is going to be C, because it says 3 times brackets 7 times 4, and then it says minus 3 times 7 times 4. So it's associative property of multiplication because it works together with the other numbers.
Right, thank you so much, Zandile, but you mentioned the minus. We don't have any negative sign on the sum. However, how you explained it is correct. We just removed the minus that you mentioned. Okay. So we have come to an end of our lesson. So this is what I want us to remember with everything that we have learned today. Okay, before I give you the website where you can go and check out more. Okay, what I want us to remember is that with additive all right, let me rather say with commutative property, we are moving the numbers around. Whether we are adding or multiplying, we are just moving the numbers around, okay, because it's commutative property. And then with associative property, we first group the first 2 numbers on our left-hand side, and we group also on our right-hand side, but the answer must be the same. Same with multiplication and addition. Now with identity property, in addition, our identity property is 0. However, in multiplication, our identity property is 1. because the answer must remain the number which is added or the number which is multiplied by 1. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. I see that the people who joined us late. Thank you so much. And I do hope to see you tomorrow. We will continue with our sums tomorrow. Do enjoy the rest of your day. However, you can go ahead and look on the site where you can go to for more exercises. It is IXL. You can type on your screens IXL.com and then choose your grade. It will give you exercises that you can do for more practice. Thank you so much. I hope you did enjoy the lesson. We'll see you again tomorrow. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.